So to share a little bit more detail on our in-person yoga teacher trainings, an in-person yoga teacher training is a really transformative experience. And that's because you create these deep relationships within your group by exploring this intensive self-study together. A yoga training school can spread its 200 hours of training over a chosen duration. And we found the benefits in both doing that as an intensive environment, but also as an extensive environment. So what I mean by that is a yoga teacher training school can choose how it spreads the 200 hours of training across a certain duration. And previously, we used to only do intensive trainings. And what an intensive training looks like is that you come in for one whole week and you're in the studio from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night for that first intensive week. And that is an immersive experience. And they do say that can be the best way to learn because you're so immersed in the material and you just get it all done. And then you go away for a week and you let it digest and you can practice teach and really study a little bit more in your own time. You come back in for a weekend. And again, that's just to add another layer of learning on, see how you're getting on. And then you go away again for a full week to let that digest. And then you come in for your final week. And so really you can get qualified in just over a month. And it's basically like 2 intensive weeks of training with 1 weekend in between. So you get qualified quickly and you learn a lot of information quickly and you create these really deep bonds, which is absolutely incredible. It is just an amazing experience and there's nothing really quite like it. But what we have found over the years is that some people want a little bit more time to digest and maybe they can't get that annual leave off as well. So we created an extensive training. So it's still in person, but it's just much longer. So what you do instead is come in 1 weekend a month for 9 months. And it's still those 20 days, it's just spread over weekends rather than 2 intensive weeks. And again, exactly the same course content, just gives you a little bit more time to digest the material. And then a typical day in an in-person training, whether that is intensive or extensive, always looks like arriving for around 7:45 and that is ready for an 8 o'clock start. And then we do a morning check-in, so we see how everyone's getting on, then we do a meditation, and then we do quite a high energy flow in the morning, so maybe that is your set sequence, like your Vinyasa flow, to help you learn it. Obviously you go at your own pace, and if you're not feeling great you can always rest and just absorb the information, but we start with a morning energizing flow. And then we have a break at around 10 o'clock. And then after that, we do theory. So we're learning whatever the theory is on the day. And maybe that is alignment, maybe that's sequencing, maybe that's the history of yoga, maybe that's psychology, maybe that's philosophy, it could be anything. And then we break for lunch. So you have an hour for lunch and then you come back. And to let that digest, we finish off the theory for that day, have another break, and then you have a restorative class in the afternoon. So maybe that's the slower part of your sequence, or maybe that's a yin class or something more relaxing like nidra. And then we do the same close. So we do a checkout to see how you've been and maybe what you need going forward, and then closing meditation to help you practice that meditation too. So that's kind of like a typical day of an in-person training. It's important that you attend as much as you can of an in-person training because it is a closed group and you create these really strong bonds, so it can be a little bit disruptive with people coming in and out. On saying that, because we now have an online training, Yoga Alliance are a lot more lenient. So they used to say that you had to attend the 200 hours to get the certification. Now, if you have an online training, they allow you to miss up to 3 to 4 days of extenuating circumstances. So if that helps you, then that is also something to think about. But if you have any questions, please just get in touch and we can always chat it through.